Welcome to the 3Haunted podcast, where we bring you all things horror, supernatural, folklore, mythology, and all things that go bump in the night.
Hey guys, this is your co-host Ashley Lunar Goddess, Gorilla Girl filmmaker and horror-loving cinephile. I'm just your average pun-making swearwolf that loves to explore the spookier things in life.
I'm your co-host John Thomas, paranormal investigator, super smartass, and film lover extraordinaire.
What's up, ghouls, gals, and all of our mystical pals? In today's episode, we're diving into the rise of the occult in America. How exactly did the occult start up? Why is it now on the rise again? Who exactly was Aleister Crowley, and what did he do for the occult? Find out the answers to these questions along with our special returning guest.
But first, a word from our network sponsor.
Are you looking for more awesome podcasts? Head on over to withoutyourhead.com for access to the Without Your Head podcast network, where you'll find a variety of podcasts sure to keep you entertained and coming back for more.
I almost missed that one.
Murder milk, Shane.
Next week on Hot Dog Down a Hallway, we discover what a true tribute shot is.
Oh dear.
And who left the sour cream on the table?
And who spilled the sour cream?
All right, John, bring us back.
Oh, okay, I think we can do this. Oh, I
I'm
got tears in my
confident.
eyeballs.
I believe in us. I
I
believe.
believe. Like Ashley, well, welcome back, everybody. Let's do that first. Like Ashley said, we have a special returning guest. I stood outside and I said, Shane, come back, Shane. And you know what?
Lord.
Unlike my father 30 years ago, Shane came back. Welcome
Oh my
back, Shane.
God.
Yours too, huh?
Yes, sir.
Oh my
Went for
gosh, you
cigarettes. That
guys.
motherfucker never came back.
Yeah. Actually, I never had even met mine until I was 30, so I had to hire a detective.
Oh.
You know, I'm sensing there's a theme here.
Next on our new podcast, Where's Our Daddy?
Where's our daddy? Are you my daddy?
Are you,
My daddy.
who is your daddy and what does he do?
It's not a tumor. Okay,
It's
so
not a tumor. It's a ferret. Yeah, you
there is no bathroom.
There's no bathroom, you son of a bitch.
He never said that to the kids. Okay.
You eat other
Oh, but
people's
he wanted
lunches?
to.
Are these your lunches? Stop it!
I love that movie. Oh my gosh.
I like when he told the little girl to get to the chopper. That was funny.
What?
Remember that?
You're mixing up movies.
I just bought that movie on Blu-ray, actually. Where is it? Nope. There it is.
Get to the chopper.
But I just bought it.
Oh, it's perfect. I'm a princess, not a policeman. Get to the chopper! Get to the chopper!
Emma.
Do it now.
I love you on Beethoven!
Would you bet?
Like when Beethoven saved your life! Do it now!
Oh my god.
Yes. You just have to do that. It's what a good.
Shane does that too well. I bet he does it in the mirror at home.
Gotta practice somewhere.
I mean,
It's definitely not flexing anymore. That's for sure. I gotta practice something in front of the mirror.
helicopter?
That's what they call it. Yeah, the helicopter.
He wasn't kidding when he said, "Get to the chopper."
Hi, for everyone that tuned in for us to talk about Aleister Crowley, no longer talking about it.
Actually, that puts a whole new meaning to get to the choppers, right? Helicopter, woo!
Get to the chopper! Yeah!
That's a whole new foreplay thing there. There you go.
All right.
Oh man.
So
the occult.
The occult.
No segue in that one.
You know
all,
what?
but...
Hedonism plays a big role in Satanism, which is part of the occult. So why not? We'll tie that in there. Transition.
Yeah.
Stop judging me, you son of a bitch.
So the occult. The occult is such a big, like, that's such a big topic, right? That just I had to narrow it down to America. We could talk about the occult everywhere, but that's so specific to every country has a version of the occult, right? Every country, every continent, what's defined as the occult, it's everywhere. So I figure let's narrow the scope down and we'll just talk about in America and the US. But what is the
Well,
occult? What are we defining?
what would be the kind of definition of occult? Because the way I see it is occult kind of encompasses all of what is not traditional religion or religious philosophy, right? And I
Mhm.
think people maybe adapt to that or reach out to that because they become so jaded from the norm. And it's funny that you narrowed it down to America because I've been reading a lot of articles lately that witchcraft and Satanism is on the rise in America, and I think that is largely attributed to the political and religious climate that we live in. It's just they've let's just face it, evangelicals have ruined Christianity for everybody. So they're like, please give me something else. Yeah,
Anything else?
witchcraft, Satan,
Sure,
Satan,
I'll take
come
it.
to yeah, I'll take it. Blood sacrifices, got you all day. Yeah,
You had me at blood sacrifice.
yeah, I was doing it anyway, so might as well.
Now it's added in.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of grandfathered in. Well, if we think about it, America is founded on those escaping from religious persecution, right? Like, and I'm not talking about like traditional, like the
Irony.
Americas, Native America, but actually like when it was established as a, continent and people are going to move here and live here, it was to escape, like you said, tyranny, religious persecution. So it would make sense that that would be something that is especially naturally ingrained, right, within the United States and America. People were naturally a bit more open to going against the norm. Now, I wouldn't say they were naturally back then open to, like, hey, let's do astrology and witchcraft and that kind of stuff, but it was definitely a predisposition to going away from what is completely accepted as this is how it works, this is what we do, and everybody follows or die.
This is how we do it.
Woo!
This is how
This
we
is
do
how
it.
we do it.
Yeah, it's funny because I think on that with the pilgrims when they came over to escape religious persecution and practice more freaky deaky sex over here, I feel like in doing so when they brought their religion and their philosophy and their culture over here, they also brought probably some members of their society that were pagans.
Mhm.
Just like bluegrass kind of came from the Celtic, the Scottish, Irish kind of music. They brought that over here with the Pilgrims, and that kind of evolved in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Same way I think paganism did. That's where the witch trials came from. Because I mean, where else did witchcraft come from? Somebody had to have brought it from Europe or the traditions from Europe for them to be practicing witchcraft over here.
Yeah, those traditions carried over through somebody. It's not like they Googled the
Yeah.
shit. So
Right.
someone was secretly practicing and bringing it over, maybe not so secretly practicing. I thought it was interesting that like some of the original, what would be considered occult figures were still tied to like Christianity, but they were not considered traditional Christianity. So like, have you guys heard of the Shakers?
Hmm.
So, like, there's this lady, Anne Lee. It was like in 1774. She was very against sex.
Yeah.
She was very pro Puritan and not sinning. But one, you're not supposed to be a leader and female in religions back then. And so that's already a no no. But the way that they were, that they practiced was kind of dancing and kind of shaking their bodies around, and
Yeah.
that again is also not very traditional Puritan Christian like. So they were dubbed the Shakers because they're shaking it like crazy during
Well, and that's where the phrase "moving and shaking" came from. Also, the movie Footloose was roughly based on that ideology. completely bullshitting on both accounts, but
I
I'm glad
figured.
that you guys bought into it, though.
I was
Yeah, I
gonna bring
figured
in
you were just
Footloose.
making it up. I'm like, Footloose, really?
Yeah, Footloose. Yeah, well, I mean, imagine they couldn't dance in that town. They
Except
couldn't.
she was pro dance, but it makes sense though that dancing was not accepted because it was considered a form of like hedonism, right? And so you have this group that's like still very strongly, we are Christian and taking it to almost a very extreme level, but they're going against what's considered standard Christian behavior. And so they're singing, dancing, shaking it around in the early, that's the 1700s. So
Well,
that'd be a
witches were
big
known
no
to
no.
dance around fires too, right? Like during their rituals in the forest, that was their whole thing. Was they were known to kind of like do the dancing and the singing and to their pagan gods.
Yeah. And then there was also, I thought there was one that was really interesting to me because I know this was like a big no no back then, but Jemima Wilkinson, she grew up in a Quaker family also in the 1700s. And she was still tied to Christian beliefs. So it wasn't like they were coming around strictly going against the church with alternative beliefs. She still very much was trying to adhere to Christian beliefs. But again, it's a she. So that's a no no. But what I found was really interesting and would be especially not okay back then is she referred to herself as a he. And she took off her, she didn't go by Jemima. She started referring to herself as, oh gosh, the public universal friend. And so
Hmm.
anybody that followed her and referred to her in teaching, she kind of became like a messiah. Anybody that followed her, referred to her, would not call her her, they'd say he, and would refer to Jemima as the public universal friend. And so she identified as neither male nor female, but when they were speaking about her, they would refer to her as he. And when Jemima only published one work, and when they signed it, it was your friend and brother.
Hmm.
And what was also interesting about their group of followers was that the women adopted more masculine dress. So you could see how, even though they're trying to adhere to very strong Christian beliefs in terms of overall sins and behaviors, they were going against the grain by shedding like the female standard stereotypical roles and gender assumptions. So I found that kind of interesting. And this was also in the 1700s. So
Movers and shakers, and so I take it she was not the one that made the really good syrup.
it was not that aunt. You're just a
I mean,
goober.
Uncle Jemima wouldn't sound as appealing.
Uncle Jemima doesn't have that much of a flow. So
No, I don't want that syrup.
I don't want that syrup. And what's interesting is like with her, she had a really bad fever as a kid. And after the fever is when she came back and said she had a vision and that she had died and been sent back as a spirit to preach to a lost and guilty, gossiping, dying world. And I think about how many figures in the occult we've heard about that have had like illnesses as children or near death experiences. And it kind of makes you wonder, what are they experiencing that kind of puts them into that shifted spiritualism?
I mean, I'll say it again. It's going against the norm. I feel like, especially back then, you got to think how oppressive their religious leaders were. I mean, you see it in movies all the time. How they kind of they always portray these religious leaders as like these super oppressive. If you don't do it this way, then we're gonna burn you. That's it. So why wouldn't you want to go against that? So they're just like, hey, we're gonna practice the way we want. And I think that's why we see a lot of alternative religions now popping up. I mean, that's kind of it piggybacks off of the whole Aleister Crowley and the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Is the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn was founded by Rosicrucians. Rosicrucians, I don't know if you know much about that religion, but it's basically a combination of the Kabbalah, Christian mysticism, alchemy. So they were found. So the Rosicrucian religion was based a lot on Christian ideals or theories, and they combine that with alchemy, the Kabbalah, with other things, and then it rolled into more of like a mystic. That's where the Order of the Golden Dawn came out, and it was founded by three members, and they were actually all Freemasons as well. So Freemasonry, myself being a Freemason, I know it has a huge background in mysticism, in math, in alchemy, in even in the Kabbalah. So they incorporate a lot of the doctrine that you see in a lot of those aspects. They quote King Solomon all the time in Freemasonry. So it's almost like it all ties together, and it makes sense that three of the founding members of the Order of the Golden Dawn were Freemasons. And when Crowley found them, um, yeah, I don't know. I feel what's your take on Aleister Crowley? Like, do you know much about him?
Define much. I haven't devoted my life to reading his books, but I've done quite a bit of research on him, and I'm not
Hmm.
sure. It depends what you read, because you have people that very much say he's being painted negatively. That's not really what he did.
Yeah.
But then you read the other articles of this is the practices he engaged in. These are the books that he used to do that. And it's that's a little shady. It's a lot of shady, depending what you believe. If you believe what the writings are. So I've done a lot of research in terms of, trying to find what I can about him, but I feel like there's a lot of mixed messages.
Yeah, and he kind of made famous the Goetia, the Lesser Key of Solomon, and he practiced. I mean, he came out with several books, but he was also like to me. Well, let's start over. So when I was younger and I was studying him, I kind of held him in high regard, and I thought of him as kind of this mystic, founder of this amazing society, and somebody who's tapped into magic once again in an age to where it would almost was going away, where you didn't really hear about summoning demons or trying to cast spells or symbolism or seals of angels and demons. You don't hear it. You never heard any of that stuff, and it kind of went away with the Industrial Revolution. And he brings it back. But now, the more I read about him and the more I understand about him as I'm older, um, I kind of think of him as almost like a spoiled rich kid, and he was very eccentric. He literally wasted his entire inheritance traveling Europe and doing all these wild and crazy drugs and wild and crazy things. And he settled in this one place and called it a monastery, where I believe one of his followers died in one of their ritual, one of the rituals, and he got kind of slammed for that in England. But like the way he kind of gallivanted from thing to thing was like a rich kid. It was somebody who was just trying to be eccentric and trying to be someone who was going against the norm. And he probably wanted to be the leader. He wanted to be somebody who inspired others, but was doing it the wrong way, because of his contacts and because of the world he tapped into. He had access to some very dangerous tools, which are very real tools, like the Lemegeton, like the Goetia, the Lesser Key of Solomon, things that you can really do real harm with. And when you put those in a rich, spoiled brat's hands and his rich friends, and they want to do stuff that's to change the world, when they're high on LSD or whatever the drug of choice was back then yeah, I think that some real damage could happen. Who knows where he is now, which up or down, but yeah, I don't think that highly of him anymore.
Yeah, I think looking at it at face value, to your point, yes, there are some things that everyone can agree on. He was very much into sex and drugs, and he had a lot of money and a lot of resources. He had an obsession with obtaining a spiritualism that others didn't have access to. And maybe that's what happens when you have it all. We hear about that with like celebrities nowadays, engaging in all sorts of occultist behaviors. And it begs the question, are they that bored? Or is it when you've got things at the highest level, you need that next hit? Metaphorically speaking, you need that higher level of power, that higher level of feeling elite, that you're accessing something others can't. Money bought you everything else. So it's like, well, I got to get this and that next in the, spiritual world. Or maybe it's a mixture, because even for those of us who aren't maybe participating in those dark magic rituals, we have questions. We have curiosities about where do we go after and what happens to us and what else is out there. They just happen to have that stuff that's accessible at their fingertips to make it happen. And like you said, they get these books, and I think part of the danger is that there is a level of disbelief that's almost like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, I've got this thing that they say I'm supposed to be afraid of, but it's just a book. And then they play with it, and they're doing all these things, and it's like, oh my God. That's not good. We know what happens on 3Haunted when you open books and read from them, that you don't know what you're doing. Like, it doesn't stop it from working. And some of the stuff that I had read is that his constant attempts to make a moonchild and to bring Baphomet into that moonchild, and what he did to women, along with his, other wealthy peers, what they did to these women to try and bring this moonchild about was atrocious, like absolutely awful. And I don't want to get too graphic and into it, but like, childbirth is difficult as is, and torturing and doing awful, inhumane things to a woman while she's in childbirth is absolutely atrocious. Hoping that that's going to bring a devil into a child's body. Like, holy moly. So I have never been a big fan of him once I read all of that stuff. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, it's like the more you learn, the person who was this, founder of this magical society kind of fades away, and it's just really, it's just another rich asshole with his friends that are trying to become powerful. And we've seen it 100 times in movies now, and it's always like the same thing. Oh, a bunch of rich assholes in robes and a secret, meeting, and they're trying to bring about the end of the world because they think the devil's going to give a shit who actually let them in the world. When in reality, they just become blood smears on the wall once he steps through. So rich people suck. Until I'm one of them. Until I become one of them, then they're okay. But.
Well, that reminds me of that one TV show they just did on Netflix. It had like one season, I think. It's about the tapes. What was it called? Oh gosh. And now I'm trying to remember, and I can't. I'm blanking on the TV show name. It was that series where he's trying to piece together what happened to someone's missing sister, and he's watching these tapes, and you kind of go back and forth between the reality of what happened, like that he's viewing through the tapes, but then also on his timeline, what's going on in his life. And essentially it's the same thing. These people living in this really eccentric apartment complex, and she figures out they're trying to raise a demon. All these wealthy elite people are trying to raise a demon in the basement. And what happens when that happens?
What? Yes, I saw that. What was that? What was the name of that?
I'm trying to remember now. It was like a number.
And it was a guy literally communicating with her via the tapes.
Through the tapes.
Through the tape. Yeah, it was... dude,
good, I know
good. It was a good movie or show. Was it a show?
It was a TV show. Archive 81.
Archive 81. Yeah, I binged it, so I was like, I think I watched it all the way through.
Yeah. I did too. I totally binged it. Archive 81, and it was well done, but same concept. And those concepts are not from like nowhere. They come from somewhere, because we see that constantly happening. I think nowadays it's becoming more obvious that our elite and our wealthy are doing it, because they're just putting it on TikTok and Instagram and Twitter. Like, okay, you guys are doing these.
Well, I mean, you have artists like Doja Cat who are like making a birthday cake or whatever cake that was that have, Masonic symbolism on it. and she has no idea. Or even if she does, like, why would you put that on there? Because it's not. People tap into stuff that they don't understand.
That's the danger of it. It's trendy. It's so
Yeah,
trendy right
and they
now
want to be
that like
different,
it's not even different anymore. You go to Barnes and
and it's
Noble.
not
We talked
different.
about that recently, and like occult tables are everywhere. They have an occult table display set up with everything from divination to tarot to, channeling to mediumship to scrying, and it's like, and they put them in these pretty pink and green and yellow books to make them seem innocent. And it's like, guys, if that's truly effective, that is not easy little light shit. Like,
Right.
you're doing things that need to be taken seriously, and you have a lot of work to be done to prepare yourself and practice. It's not a cute pink book with a cat on it.
I almost feel like they need to have somebody who knows something about what they're throwing up. I know they won't, but like I feel like they need to have somebody there with the knowledge to tell people like this is not like you're saying all fun and games.
Really, John, would they listen? Would they
No,
listen?
probably
No,
not. But
no one's gonna
I don't
listen.
know.
They TikTok
Yeah.
taught them. TikTok taught them.
But
They learned it all on TikTok. They don't need you.
No,
You know
that's
more than I
true.
do. I learned it on TikTok. Okay.
Yeah.
what I find unsettling and alarming is that there is an intentional misdirection occurring. Why they're putting these very deep topics in these pink and like light turquoise and pastel colored book
Yeah.
covers,
Yeah.
and like putting cats
Demon
and
summoning
cute
for.
bunnies. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's like, hold on, what you're
Ages 5 and up.
intentionally misdirecting. And I wonder though, what's behind that?
I mean, I don't know. I want to say, like, you know what's behind it.
I don't want to go conspiracy theorist on it, but like, let's go conspiracy theorist for a moment. There's got to be a reason.
You know what's behind it.
Getting them souls.
Well, here's the thing. If you, I mean, why wouldn't? I mean, in, if you believe in the devil, if you
Mhm.
believe in God, then why wouldn't you believe that there are both forces at work against each other constantly? Why wouldn't you believe that both forces have help within this world as well? So if you believe that, then yeah, of course they're gonna doll up some summoning and some occult books and try and get as many of those out in the hands of people who don't really think anything of them. And it goes right back on the belief of the devil's greatest trick was getting you to not believe he exists. And once he does that, then it's game over, And then all these cute little 8-year-old girls or 13-year-old girls on TikTok are making
Summoning demons
circles and
at a
summoning
slumber party.
demons. Exactly. Well, I mean, hey, that's how Sandman came about. Or who was it? Was it the Sandman? What did we do? What did we
Midnight
go
Man?
over with yeah, Midnight Man. I think it was Midnight Man. Yeah, Urban
Yeah.
Legends. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think one of the reasons I bring up Crowley is I know he's British. He's not American. He was over there, but I mean, he was traveling the world, but he was British. But he directly had an impact on the occult in America.
So
And
influential. Yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
And I know he was a major influence for LaVey. Anton LaVey created
Yeah.
Church of Satanism in America in
Yeah.
1966, and a lot of his stuff is rooted in Crowley's writings, Crowley's beliefs. And so it is important to know, like, as much as the Church of Satanism upholds beliefs that they are not religious, or any kind of like, there isn't any kind of sect involved with them. They're actually opposed to religion, dogmas and doctrines. Their original like foundations were rooted in Crowley's, which he might have been an atheist, but if you're trying to summon Baphomet into a baby, you're not quite an atheist. You believe in something. Because he also
Yeah.
wanted to summon his holy guardian angel. So you have to believe in some kind of religious belief system if you believe in a holy guardian angel, because that required invoking 12 angels and 12, I believe, princes of hell, right? Including
Yeah.
Lucifer and a few of the other ones. So like that's a big thing. Like he wanted to do that because nobody else had. And you're supposed to bind them, but then you see him veering away from that, right? Like, because now he wants to just bring them on earth and not bind them. So it's like something he started in one direction of, I want to meet my holy guardian angel, and then veered somewhere else. And it's like, I want to bring a demon on earth. Like, what? That's a
Yeah.
big jump.
Well, and it's funny you mentioned Anton LaVey, because LaVey's, I think, the big thing or ideology behind Satanism is you do what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's no rules, no boundaries. Do what you want to do, and that was actually Crowley's biggest teaching: was do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law.
Yeah.
And that's what that means
Which,
to me is I'm rich, bitch. I can do whatever I want. That's
which,
really what it is. It's like I want to do whatever I want. So why would I develop a religion with rules if that's going to stop me from gaining what I want? It's very selfish. It's a very selfish religion. Um,
the irony of Satanism, though, is that although they say do what you want and they have like their 12 or 13 rules, or not rules,
yeah,
principles of living, they also have like rules of what you're not supposed to do. And I'm like, well, if you're doing what you want,
yeah,
then those kind of contradict. Like there was one that was just like, you don't go into somebody else's house unless they want you there. And it's like, but I thought we did what we wanted.
do what you want, except for these.
Yeah, and they have like 9 principles of things you're not supposed to do, and it's just like, hold on.
Yeah,
I thought you said I could do what I want. I don't like this. Hypocrisy, just like any other religion.
yeah. So I was also reading. So do you know anything about the what did he call it? AWAS, I think it was.
Mm-mm.
No, uh, that was the being that he said he was communicating with.
Yes, okay.
AWAS, yeah, first appeared during the 3 days of the writing, Liber al Vel Legis. His first and only identification, such as in chapter 1, revealed by AWAS, the minister of Parkrat, which is Egyptian. So that was another reason why I was kind of fascinated with him, because I was obsessed with ancient Egyptian religion and the books of the dead. But Harpakeret is more commonly referred to by Greek transliteration, meaning Horus the child. He wrote a book, or what did he? He wrote a book called the Book of Thoth, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
yeah.
did. Because
So
he
he was
also
very,
did like a full tarot deck too, based on that
yeah,
Egyptian
yeah,
study.
with an artist that he
Yeah.
collaborated with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he was very into, it seems, ancient Egyptian um, theology or ancient Egyptian mysticism, maybe. And I think that maybe he just used that and kind of developed his own thing.
And that's where I feel my instinct says heebie-jeebies, red flags, when people are connecting with beings they know nothing of,
Hmm.
and they take at face value whatever that being tells them as one truth, and also unquestioningly just believes whatever that being represents itself as. There is in Utah a big underground following. Is that an oxymoron? Of and it's spreading outside of Utah, but from my understanding it kind of really started to take root there. And it's the one where that lady channels Abraham, and I think they
Hmm.
named it Abraham for a reason, because that evokes Christianity in a lot of people's heads, but it's not Christianity. And she channels this whole spirit world realm, but they all have one name, and it's called Abraham. And so she brings about all these messages and teachings to these people under the premise of the name of Abraham. And it becomes this Messiah figure. But when it originally emerged, Abraham is supposedly a undefinable group of spirits all talking to her at once. And she calls it Abraham. And I do wonder, similar to the pink and green and yellow covered occult books, there is an intentional use of the name Abraham for these spirit group names sending all these messages that are supposed to change the way humans operate, to kind of make them feel a false sense of trust and security because they're used to hearing that name Abraham and associating it with something divine. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Well, and it kind of ties in with what I'm reading here is actually, it says in Magic in Theory and Practice. Magic in Theory and Practice, what I should get, I'm assuming is a book. Awas is firmly identified by Crowley as the devil, Satan, and Lucifer, whose emblem is Baphomet.
Nice.
Yeah. This assertion is made while Crowley is discussing the devil. After explaining that the devil does not exist, he goes on to clarify his statement by explaining that the devil is in reality a label for the god of any people that one dislikes. And this fact has led to so much confusion of thought on the subject that Crowley prefers to let names stand as they are and to proclaim simply that Awaz, the solar phallic hermetic Lucifer, in his own holy guardian angel, and the devil Satan or Hadith, the supreme soul behind Ra-Hurkuit, the sun, the lord of our particular unit of the star universe. Interesting. So this is the same being that he's said time and time again was his holy guardian angel. That's
Huh.
what he proclaimed Awas as. His own personal holy guardian angel.
So his guardian angel is essentially Christianity's devil.
Right.
Okay.
I'm now inclined to believe that Awas is not only the god once held holy in summer and mine own guardian angel, but also a man as I am, insofar as he uses a human body to make his magical link with mankind, whom he loves, and that he is thus an Ipsimus, the head of the AA.
So he connected to something and
Yeah.
openly admits that, hey, this is the direct opposition to Christianity, whoever I'm connecting to, but he's not really bad. So that's why we're going to give him a different name. He's my guardian angel, your devil.
Yeah.
Huh.
He's the devil, but it's okay. It's not bad. It's not. Yeah.
I mean, and that's the slippery slope, is I can see logically how that would make sense, that anything opposed to this organized religion would be your devil.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. But the idea that, like, I'm connecting to something I know nothing about, and that's now my new savior, my new God, for lack of a better term, like, that's concerning. Like, do your research, damn it. Just kidding.
Right, exactly. Well, and that's a problem. I think he did, and that's
He liked it too much.
He liked it too much, and I think he achieved a lot more than what people know.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, there's probably some shit out there that that never came to light. Maybe the Catholic Church took care of it, or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I mean, you don't have access to that much stuff and not be able to do some real damage. You know.
And ultimately, you're still a human. And so, even if he's tapping into all of these things and connecting with whatever you want to call it, that's going to take a toll on your body. And you're also doing heroin. And you're also doing, like, all of these things that are just going to wear your human meat bag down. That's just, I think the one thing people continue to use the occult practices, not everybody, but a lot of people use the high rituals, like the
Hi.
the big rituals. I think they use for immortality. People don't want to die. They're afraid to die. They want to know what's on the other side. And because they don't know what's on the other side, they don't want to die. And so they want to prolong their life. They want money, power, immortality, love.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, when you're doing heroin and all of these other rituals, it wears your body down. The thing I don't like is that certain things get demonized, like mediumship, astrology, tarot reading, stuff like that, that requires the individual to be the agent of, I guess, practice. And maybe I take mediumship out of that because you are letting something come into your system. But there's a lot of stuff where people are using tools to access, like, a cosmic connection to some kind of maybe collective consciousness that I think gets all dumped into the same thing. And then it's like, well, that's Satan and that's Satan and that's the devil and that's evil. And it's like, well, Not all of it is, but we can all agree that it all can be dangerous if not prepared and practiced. I don't want to say correctly, because if you want to channel the devil, then you're doing it right. But if practiced in a way that does protect you, can probably be done safely, right? But it's still high risk stuff, in my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's kind of shitty because, like, you think about your traditional Christianity.
Mhm.
You know, I myself am a Christian, so I can speak on this matter. I can speak on this matter saying that a majority of Christians are assholes, and by that, I mean, it's kind of like the rule of people as a whole are dumb. You know, the cattle are dumb, but the individual is smart. And I view religion the same way, where they would, you know, from the dawn of time, ever since Christianity came about, it's always been a collective of, if we don't understand it, then it's the devil. It's a devil.
We kill it.
Kill it, burn it, put it on a cross, or put stones on their chest. You know, if we don't understand it, and there's never been a. I want to understand that. Let's try and understand that. You know, let's investigate. It's no, we're going to torture this. How many crazy ass contraptions do they have to torture these witches? Scientific contraptions to torture these witches just to try and get them to admit that they were following the devil, when they could have put that to use and actually did some scientific discovery. And that goes for the Renaissance, that goes for, you know, medieval Europe, that goes, you know, why the pilgrims escaped anyway. They were just too oppressive and too bullying with their ways, and not open-minded enough. And that's where the occult springs up like a rose on a dirty sidewalk in New York and says, look at me, look how beautiful I am. Let's worship Satan.
I'm sold.
He's sold on worshiping Satan.
Let's do it.
I made it sound very appealing, right?
You did.
Well, Satanism, too, is not literally the worshiping of Satan if we're talking about LaVey's Church of Satan, because they have time and time again said they don't actually believe in Satan. They just take what Satan represents. Going against
It's free will,
organized religion. Yeah, going against organized religion, going against oppression, and saying, this is who I am. And, you know, it rejects this idea of the Christian church, but any church, any of the churches. But I guess they like what Satan represented, which is symbolizing everything that went against that. And so they say, yes, we're Satanists, but it's not because they believe in Satan, although some of them do. But LaVey and his original creating of the Church of Satan didn't believe in Satan. It's just, this is what that figure represents, so we call ourselves that.
So what do you think about that, though, in terms of the freedom a religion like Satanism gives you? What do you think about the application to that? So, say for me, for example, like you're a Christian, right? And say I'm worshiping Satan, and I say, hey, well, Ashley, you know, I kind of like diddling dogs, so but Satanism is okay with that. So
It's not, though, because if you read the 9 principles, you're not supposed to do sexual
rules about following no rules
without consent. Yeah. But isn't that like any other religion? The hypocrisy. Here's where I can see why people join Satanism. And that's the idea that you're using this particular group, this organization. I don't know if you want to call it a religion, that probably pissed them off, but you've got this religion that still does like their greater and lesser ritual magic. But it puts it back in the hands of the person without giving them fear of something unreal. Be good because you're going to burn in hell. Do good things because you're going to be, fire and brimstone. I don't like fire and brimstone. You shouldn't fear people into being good people. Good people should just be fucking good people. And I get it. We aren't, because that's not our primal primitive nature. But we're past primal primitive nature, right? We have the ability and privilege and luxury to be able to do good things because our survival no longer depends on it the way it used to back in like caveman days. So, with that said, I could see why that's appealing. I don't have to be browbeaten into being a good person because then it's not authentic. I don't have to worry about my priest is going to make me do 30 Hail Marys. So I
Or
should
something
be a
else.
good girl, right? So I should be a good
Hi-yo.
girl because I should just be a good fucking person. And
Yeah.
that's
I mean,
where I see that strong. But at the end of the day, people want to feel a part of something. People want to feel a community.
well, and that's what the laws of man are for, is to keep people in check. Because yes, if there was no rules, it'd be a fucking chaotic, messed up place that we live in. But I mean, even the Bible says, follow. You need to follow the laws of man, and that was, going back to Hammurabi. The laws that were written down, and if you have to follow all of those, and they tied in with the religion at the time. I agree with that. Like, okay, to a point. Like, you need to follow. There should be a set guideline of how to live cohesively within a group of people, right? But I don't agree with those laws being heavily influenced by religion, by religious beliefs.
But there are policed things in religion that make zero sense that are not held within the scope of laws of man. And that's where I think becomes an issue, whether we're
Right.
talking about homosexuality, whether we're talking about like women's rights, whether we're talking about actual equality, because if you look at the Bible, there's a lot of not equality. Slavery is very
Did you
much
say not
prevalent.
equality?
Yeah, like slavery was a thing in the Bible. Inequality, whatever. But there's a lot, and again, it's a book written by men, so it's not like I'm saying God is bad. What I'm saying is that when we put power in the hands of men, that power gets corrupted, just like anything else. So when we're creating books and there's a lot of authors, that can send a lot of mixed messages. We see it even with the Church of Satan. And there was this one dude who originally started it, but as it branched out and there were grottos and stuff like that, the messages started to change too. So, you've got like the Church of Satan has their 11 satanic rules of the earth that are not governed by rules of man.
I was just looking at those actually.
Yeah, and it's not something that we would be covered by laws of man because they're not something that's so morally atrocious that it's illegal. Like do not kill non-human animals unless you are attacked or for your food. So that's a very and there's no or else. It's just don't do this. Don't be a dick. And a lot of these are don't be a dick. Do not give opinions or advice unless you're asked. If a guest in your home annoys you, treat them cruelly and without mercy. Like those are okay. That's not illegal, but it's like, okay, yeah, like cool. Some of these, I think the funniest one is do not make sexual advances unless you're given the mating signal. I'd like to know what the mating signal is. Like, is that turn your butt
That's what I
around and
was
shake
thinking.
your butt? Like, I don't know, but apparently there's got to be a mating signal. There is stuff that would not be illegal if
It's a
done.
helicopter.
and so I can see why some people would identify with this because people do like to feel a part of a community. They do feel like they want to belong. And as much as we try to deny it, there is a very much ingrained part of us, innate part of us, inside of us that is connected to something spiritual. Not to say it's a specific God or a devil or whatever. There is something in us that is connected to something we don't understand, but we feel is a part of us and want to understand. I think that's why it's on the rise right now. I think that's why Wicca is on the rise. I think that's why paganism is on the rise here, and astrology and tarot and divination, because people feel that calling. They feel that spiritual connection, but they hate religion. They hate the dogma of religion because, like you said, we've got laws. We've got laws to police most of our morals that are the big ones.
And I feel we start messing up as a nation when we start incorporating our religious laws into our societal laws, right? And that's why our forefathers said state and religion needs to be separate. That's why we cannot be run. There's too many people of different faiths here, and that's why. Not everyone follows those laws, bub. So
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to separate those because even though those founding fathers said that, we still had things that contradicted that because it was rooted in religion, like
yeah,
inequality with all the inequality. So it's hard to shake it, but man, if we can shake it, we absolutely should. Because, like you said, there's so many religions out there now. So, like, whose rules win, right? Whose rules are law? And it just is better to be like, get the fuck out of that. It doesn't belong there because we all have different beliefs. Could you imagine if the Church of Satanism took over our laws? Mating signal.
Like the Shakers.
Shake it up, shake it up.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think it would change. I don't think this country would change because like the people that don't follow the laws now, it's just the same. It's just you either follow them or you don't.
And those who don't want to won't. I do find social media has had a big impact on being able to spread the occult. I think it's a double-edged sword because, again, those things that used to be taught, like with let's take, for example, our Native American tribes. You didn't just smoke peyote and go on a spirit quest. You had to be prepared. Your ancestors were a part of it, and you really took it seriously. And unfortunately, when it's all over social media, like you said, you can watch it on TikTok, try it at home. Those things are not there to help you protect yourself. Probably it's a lot easier to be damaged if something is successful. But isn't it interesting that people have access to more information? It is giving us access to people that we wouldn't have had before. Kind of like a digital coven. Like one of our guests was telling us she met online, right? Her mentor who taught her witchcraft. Yeah. But she went and studied with her. So it was just the connection that she made online. But the actual practicing and studying and learning how to protect yourself and boundaries, she went and studied under her in person. So if there were a way to find a balance, that would be awesome. Because I do worry people are just going to be like summoning demons willy-nilly. But I don't know. We don't hear about it in the news, so maybe they're not successful.
I don't know. I mean, they probably are, but like, who's going to believe that shit? You know,
right? I don't see the news reporting on it, unfortunately. Not yet.
If you have not checked out Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities on Netflix, do that.
I've heard nothing but good things. Yeah, I have to check
good.
It out.
Yeah, there's actually one episode about demons, and then another one about I don't even know what it is, but it was very disturbing at the end. But I'll let you guys. No spoilers, but yeah, I'm only about 4 episodes in. It's like after that last episode, I was kind of like, I gotta take a break.
It's a little too accurate.
Yeah.
Watch the cartoons.
Pretty much.
Yeah, Winnie the Pooh.
I put on Sandlot and Christmas Story tonight. Was
hell yeah, there you go.
Do you see Christmas Story 3 is going to be out? And
it's going to be so good.
I'm so excited. They got the original cast.
Yeah, it's going to be so good.
Yay.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I love being able to just talk randomly about a centralized topic. So I feel like there's more we could talk about, but I think what I would leave off with is that in no way, shape, or form am I condemning anything that is umbrellaed under the occult. I just think it's a matter of being safe. Like anything else, be safe. Don't let book covers with kitty cats on it saying, hang in there, baby, mislead you into whatever you practice is serious. Learn to protect yourself, learn to ground yourself, and trust your intuition.
Definitely. I mean, we've had so many guests on that tell you the exact same thing with, different subjects that we've been talking about, or even the same subject. So I agree with you on that one, 125%.
Except when it comes to demons. Don't fucking summon demons. Please.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't attempt it. Whether you believe in it or not, just skip that TikTok.
Yeah. I mean, you have to get a driver's license to learn how to drive a car. And it seems like it's a pretty simple process, but you still have to go through learning how to and get certified to do so. So why wouldn't you do at least some minimal research when it comes to playing around with the what's the word I'm looking for?
The unknown.
Yeah. Yeah. Research the unknown, make it known, and then practice it. Yeah.
Make it known. Don't pull an Aleister.
Right. Exactly. I mean, through 300, podcast, will definitely attest. I think everyone on here will attest. There's some very real shit out there. This goes for our entire audience, and definitely know what you're getting yourself into before you do it, because you could be putting yourself and others that are doing it with you blindly at risk. So,
Absolutely.
Yes.
but by all means, try this stuff at home.
I was going to say, and then I'm going to be the asshole and say, if you do try it at home and shit happens, call us and we can put you on the podcast.
Film it.
And
as always, Shane wants you to film it and put it on YouTube. So.
Yes.
God damn it, yes. Yes. I will subscribe.
Right.
Subscribe and like and follow. And speaking of, follow us on 3Haunted. Damn it.
Segue.
Yes. Shane, I
Segue
appreciate
strudel.
you coming on. I always love having you on, and we're gonna bug you to come right back on. So,
Yep, I'll be right back outside going, Shane, come back, Shane.
Shane, we miss you. We need
With little
you.
tears in my eyes, and yeah.
Baby, come back.
Yeah, I never heard that before. I actually never heard the comeback shame at all in my
No?
life.
Wow. It's a
No.
Western, unfortunately.
No, that's not true at all. Actually, I
no,
heard it
of
almost
course.
every 5
Whatever.
seconds in school. Actually, all the way up to probably high school, when my gym teacher was, Shane, come back, Shane.
Well, you're still gonna hear, God damn it.
Anyway, thank you for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
Yes.
I love you guys. Always want to be on your show.
We
Hell
love
yeah.
you so much. All right, John, bring us home.
Bring us
All
home.
right. We are coming home, bitches. Just kidding. The look on Ashley's face. Thank you again, Shane. Again. Thank you. Always fun to have you on. And thank you to all of our listeners for listening to this episode of 300 Podcast with your host. I'm John Thomas.
I am Ashley Lunar Goddess.
And if you have any episode suggestions, questions, or comments, please feel free to email us at 300podcast@gmail.com. And like Ashley said earlier, if you haven't done so already, please like, follow, and subscribe to all of our social media. You don't want to miss one crazy moment.
Until next time.